Okay, Daryl Sloan. Hi there, Nick Dutch here. I've just seen your video by Science Alone brackets for atheists. Okay, fantastic. That is one of the best explanations I've seen for basically the sort of thing I've been trying to explain to people over all these years. Now, I mean, full stop. For those of my viewers who haven't seen Daryl Sloan's video, I'll place a link to it in the information box. Go to it, watch the whole thing. It's 32 minutes and 41 seconds in duration, and it is probably the most, oh man, in depth, analytical, philosophical, scientific video on the subject of God, consciousness, spirit, and universal belonging, all right, as in we are all one kind of thinking that I have seen. And it just sums, that one particular video, resonated with me so much. Uh, but one of the mentions Daryl's made there is that authoritarian religion whereby you got a priest class standing saying that we're the one who have all the answers. That's where things went sour. But when it was more like the Eastern idea of trying to get to know the unknowable, then that's more tuned in. Well, yeah, I agree. But what I see when I look back at religious history, even within, let's say, the Judeo-Christian law, is initially, a sense of wonderment to something which is all there and unknowing, therefore invisible, if you get my drift, to, the creation of rules and regulations. And then another cult's coming along which says, well, hang on a second, can we start thinking about people, social justice, and therefore the second half of the Old Testament. And then you got Christianity basically trying to revert things back to, let's say, a very early time in ancient Judaism prior to the development of all the thousands of rules, well, 613, right? Then then things go sour. I mean, there's a scene in the Book of Acts which speaks of the veil in the temple between the congregation and the priest class being torn in two. And the symbolism of that aspect of the mythology is that the people have, a direct connection to the higher power as a result of that one particular situation. And then, of course, these days you've got the Creflo Dollars and uh, what's his name, Kirk Cameron and Ray Comfort and all the rest of those people who are going the other way and placing a priest class in place, saying we're the ones who have all the answers, and that's where it's sort of gone sour. And then of course you got the conservative ones saying we're the ones who got all the answers as well, and they're putting in their own political opinion, and it's all going completely and utterly fucking pear shaped because it's going against the original, intentions behind everything. The symbol of the second major arcana card of the tarot is that of the High Priestess, which traditionally has a veil covering most of her face, but not all of it. All right, there's a split in the middle of her veil because she's supposed to be representing the Holy Spirit and therefore the connection between the individual and a consciousness. All right, because it's spirit, therefore consciousness, brought about by the symbolic mythological action of the rendering of the veil. Okay? So the second major arcana card of the tarot is talking about universal consciousness, possibly of which we're all a part. So that connects very nicely to what Daryl Sloan's saying, but still, in this particular case, from a Judeo-Christian symbolical point of view. All right? So, now, this time in history, okay, like right now, this time now, okay, this time when you're watching this video, probably, we're seeing attempts to reverse that, and therefore the creation of theistic Satanism, the witchcraft movement developing as an attempt to reverse that. But of course we also see in, let's say, theistic Satanism as well as in the witchcraft movement, the generation of priest classes that are undoing that sense of personal freedom. All right, and that sense of trying to evaluate and look at, what's happening in the world, and also the connection of consciousness between the individual and everything else from a freer point of view. So there's this is a gray area we're in at the moment, okay, theologically speaking. And so explanations like the one Darrell has given is like really, really important to, remove that like priest class dimension and start to provide more people with the sense of, let's go out there and experiment and see what happens and see how we can explore theologically as a result of that. Because there's lots of things that we all still remain like a little agnostic about, because that's just the way that things are. But on the other hand, we can have these experiences and they can make us think about the way the world works. All right, so that starts you on the process, and it also starts you on the process of undoing the feeling of there being some kind of priest class, sort of like, putting themselves above you and saying like, you will do as you're told, you will obey, which grates against me something crazy. I mean, I still tell priests to fuck off these days. All right, I still do it. Or, make them wriggle in anxiety when I challenge their ideas, just little by little. There was once upon a time, like one guy who was in a church tried to have a scientific argument for the, I think it was a literal creation, and I challenged him on it, and in the end he was like shaking in a nervous wreck because I was asking questions and he didn't want me to ask questions. And I've had similar behavior, but from a much more aggressive nature, from a certain Wiccan individual who I used to know from a long time ago. Questions have to be asked. All right? But also, I see it like as a moral imperative to carry on trying to have the experiences and trying to work out where you stand. I mean, I'm of the opinion that, I have always existed. I'm of the opinion that we are all interconnected. We are all one. The same being looking at itself from different points of view. I'm of the opinion that as individuals, we have we are designed democratically, so to speak, all right, to try and heal the problems within our own lives, within our own environment. Obviously, we as separate individuals sometimes make mistakes, but we're trying from the frames of reference that we have. So, do we exist to try and make the world a better place? Yeah. Through highlighting pain and problems and trying to find solutions. And maybe this has been one of the most stimulating forces behind medicine. People's desire to try and find answers and go out there, do the research, publish, and get doctors doing their job. But the same with social problems, same with political problems, same with economic problems, although obviously right now we're doing rather badly at that. This is what we as a species try and do. Right? See problems and solve them, because we're like little individual parts of the whole planet. All right? And sometimes we go a bit too far one way and then a bit too far the other way. We got to try and bring ourselves back on track. And that's part of the process of life and growth and awareness, really. So I could ramble on about this like until the cows come home, but basically that's what I think. Do watch that movie by Darrell Sloan. It is amazing. And I'll speak to you guys soon.